quasi-ultimate. We are at the very top level here when it comes to what's going on. All right, so what have we got going on here? There's an Eternal Witness that's been pulled to the front. Urban Evolution, a nice way of getting a bit of a payoff for going multiple colors or ramping up a little bit.
Darren's Assistant.
I mean, Eternal Witness is one of those cards that means that whatever the best card in your deck is, you're probably going to get a chance to use it multiple times. So I can see why that's an attractive one to start with. Green, also the color that can most easily splash. Kadama's Reach and so on, letting you set that up fairly well. So that ends up being the first one stuck into the pile here for Hushinbeth as he's gradually working toward getting something going here.
And the thing is, Eternal Witness goes in pretty much every deck. It's not like you're committing yourself to a specific archetype.
Yeah, all you're really doing is committing yourself to having a reasonable amount of green mana, but the green decks can do a lot of different things. Pulse of Marasa, one of the cards that can work very nicely indeed. Now, Rare Dawnbringer is an interesting one, because this is a creature that's very hard to cast naturally, but if you're already planning on doing a Reanimator sort of deck, it will turbocharge that by then representing a reanimation spell each and every turn. Though, to be perfectly honest, how many big creatures do you need in the Reanimator plan?
About like 3 or 4.
Okay.
And the creatures you want are either Limit Crusher at common or Ender of Despair.
Looks like Snake Umbra currently at the front of the pack here for Hushinbeth. That one, another source of straightforward card advantage. Must be said that card advantage not super difficult to find in this Ultimate Masters format. Lots of what we call value in there. It's obviously good in the likes of the heroic decks, which frequently will feature green, the kind of the Bogle style decks that have lots of enchantments. But on top of that, I mean, it is just a straightforward way of drawing cards in any deck that chooses to run it. And Terramorphic Expanse here, again allowing Hushinbeth potentially to keep things a little bit open. If he wants to go more down that heroic path, there is a Swiftspear Cavalry there. Sunspear Cavalry, sorry.
Yeah, not a very powerful pack, but still has a few cards to pick. The Expense keeps him open. The Cavalry or the Mandrills, not super exciting. The Expense, you are going to play the Expense.
Yeah,
and you're still not committing to anything.
Yeah, there's lots of potential in this particular format to pivot based on what you see. Maybe not even in Pack 1, but in Pack 2. And with the cards that Hushinbeth has, he's currently not got any of the exclamation points. He's got none of the cards that you're going to go over to your buddies and be like, look at this deck that I drafted, particularly. But they all are key role players.
So again, not super exciting pack.
Yeah, Magmor used to be a rare, kind of an interesting one. Lets you sacrifice creatures to represent damage. But yeah, this is...
There are a few playables, but nothing you're really excited about.
Like, Just the Wind's all right. Cathodian makes it into most decks just because it's so easy to cast. Goes to the Magmor here, which is a card that sort of is efficiently costed for what you get. You get a big old body and a useful ability all rolled into one neat package. Path of Marasa here. I mean, with Archaeomancer especially, Pulse of Marasa can do some neat little things.
Eternal Witness.
Yeah, absolutely. Just gradually work on that life gain plan. All of these are quite slow.
Yeah, Pulse is common, and it's very likely that you actually find one in your draft.
If you want one, yeah.
If you want one. But it's a very good combination with Eternal Witness.
Reviving Vapors in there. We've got Mistveil Plains, which is kind of an interesting one. One of those sort of nice value additions to various white decks across older formats.
Yeah, not too exciting in Ultimate Master Draft.
Not especially, no. God's willing, if we end up going into this heroic archetype, is a nice one to have in there. An easy way of targeting your creatures, keeping them alive, keeping them safe from opposing removal. But we've not really seen any of the hallmark heroic creatures just yet.
Oh, here we go. Defender. Oh, Treasure Cruise, so late. Wow.
Boneyard Worm gets good late. Treasure Cruise, super powerful if you can cast it. Even if you're casting it using not too much delve. I mean, just drawing 3 cards in a format where the average power level of cards is so high is just a very solid thing to be doing.
Oh, this pack must have been super spicy. Is it pick 6 Treasure Cruise?
Yeah, I mean, that's some kind of a signal.
That's...
if anything, a signal that something funny is going on. Spark Splitter here. An endless source of spark elementals. Furnace Celebration, an interesting build around.
Yeah, nice combo there.
Works
Furnace Celebration and a Spark Splitter.
I mean, he's got a Magmor as well. I mean, Magmor with Furnace Celebration, that's a lot of damage you can potentially throw out there, but goes for the Spark Splitter to begin with.
Yeah, the Celebration is very hard to build around. I mean, there are a lot of outlets, but they're not the best card of the format. And they usually they're not too cheap either, so...
Anger there, the pickup, so that potentially sets up various things to be more potent, giving all your creatures haste, assuming you've got a mountain in play and it's in the graveyard. And with the various madness enablers, getting it into the graveyard isn't simply a matter of casting it and hoping that it dies, which is convenient. Undying Rage in there, that's kind of okay. Think Twice. Lab Maniacs just flying around the table, and actually one getting picked up here by Hushinbeth. This was one of those cards that was very straightforward to build around when it was first printed in Innistrad. A little bit more work needing to be done to empty your library this time around. There's a Crushing Canopy, a good sideboard card gets picked up by Hushinbeth here. Very frequently that one brought in games 2 and 3. And as we get to the latter stage in this pack, not too much expectation to get loads back. Spider Umbra might be okay. I mean, Goyo's Vengeance, when it's good, it's very, very good indeed, but those situations, a little few and far between, if we're perfectly honest.
Yeah, Arn's been passing a few rares, focusing his strategy on the sideboard cards.
Yeah, as tempting as it is to look at the rares as being the signal as to what should be going on, when you're playing at this level, it's all about getting the synergies together, and that's something that sort of maybe might vary from if you manage to get in an Ultimate Masters draft at your local store. I mean, I wouldn't fault anyone for taking some of the spicy rares that are in this set to make some of their various decks across all sorts of formats better. But for the actual draft decks themselves, sometimes you got to show a little bit more discipline.
So we don't really know where he's going here. He had a plan the first couple picks, but then kind of drifted away.
Yeah, I mean, as Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face with a Treasure Cruise pick 6.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's roughly what he said. Yeah, the Treasure Cruise, I mean, seeming a little out of place compared to everything else, but...
I mean, everything else is not exactly in place either. I mean, he doesn't have an aggro plan for the Snake Umbra. Snake Umbra is just going to be a good card. Anger is not giving haste too much yet.
We will yet see how this goes on. Of course, this is a murderer's row of powerful players at this particular table. We have, of course, at table 1, our one undefeated player, that being Pascal Viren. Tarov Severin's at this table, Fabrizio Campanino. So Hushinbeth is between Severin and Campanino, two players who are well known on the GP circuit. Skarsback Marauders. There's a Kadama's Reach and another Treasure Cruise. At some point, you need, even if you're using Treasure Cruise to draw all of these lovely cards, you need to be drawing into something. I mean, Penumbra Worm is a very solid body. That's one that I enjoyed quite a bit when it was first printed in Apocalypse, and
still costs 7 though.
Looks like Kadama's Reach might be the pick. Arne Hushinbeth still delaying on getting the actual kind of business, the meat to the potatoes of his deck. A lot of potatoes, not very much meat just yet.
Yeah, he's gluing things together, but we're not so sure what yet. Maybe a green, blue, red value deck.
The value is certainly there. Archaeomancer, all right, Archaeomancer has some interesting synergies.
If he's going for the blue-green value deck, Urban Evolution is pretty good pickup here.
Yeah, he passed one Urban Evolution in pack 1. The Urban Evolution, a little bit trickier to get hold of more of than Archaeomancer, just because of its rarity. All right, so we've got some card drawing. And we've got ways of getting that card drawing back from the graveyard. And then question mark profit is roughly where I'm at the moment. Yeah. I must admit that as much as it sounds like we might be down on this draft, this is the kind of draft that I quite like doing. It's an exciting draft to be in. It's just that it's also a difficult draft to then maneuver and find the final win condition in. Another Pulse of Marasa looking here, alongside a Phoenix. Firewing Phoenix is a tenacious attacker. I mean, it's assuming that you've got the appropriate mana to return it, a difficult one to deal with any finality.
Another pulse? Would you actually want that many pulses at this stage of the draft?
Yeah, the first pulse has a lot of value.
Yeah.
Pulses 2 and 3 gets a little sketchier. So it does go for the Firewing Phoenix here. It looks like a really steep cost finding that triple red to return it to your hand, but I mean, that's kind of a late game play anyway, so there will be a little time to find it, and the likes of Verdant Eidolon will achieve it very easily indeed if that's the way that he wants to go. Meringue River Prowler, another one of those cards that just represents a consistent source of damage, assuming that you're going to have either a green or a black permanent in play, and green permanents in play does seem like something that Anna is on board for. It will be able to be cast from the graveyard.
He has a Magmo as well.
Oh yeah.
4 mana, 1 damage. Not too exciting, but...
As things stand, though, that's not the option gone for. Just think twice for Arne Huschenbeth. He continues to get his card drawing engine online. What are you drawing into, Arne?
Yeah, no, he's looking for the payoff. Yeah,
well,
that's
that
one of them.
Archaeomancer... Oh, there's an Artisan of Kozilek in this pack as well. I mean, at some point...
I think I like Archaeomancer.
The first
here.
Archaeomancer in this deck does some work, because again, this is a card that works very nicely with Pulse of Marasa. It also potentially will set up any other powerful spells that he finds himself drawing into. This is... Whoa, there's a lot going on here.
Like, turn 2 Mist would be an absolute slam dunk here.
Oh, wow, yeah. He has some nice coming into play abilities. I mean, in pack 3, is there a better rare for him to open than Talrand Sky Summoner?
I don't know.
It's
definitely a good card.
I mean, it's obviously slow, but equally sets you up for all sorts.
Yeah, Plumeveil is going to be hard to cast.
Yeah, I don't see this deck as having loads of planes in it.
Or loads of islands.
Well, we shall see.
The Lighthouse could have been an option as well.
And this is the thing when you're playing so many colors, is that the number of cards that represent options is substantial, and Huschenbeth here, he's using every piece of the buffalo as he works his way toward building his 40-card special for this, what might be the last draft of his weekend.
There's a lot of room for mistakes. That's for sure. A Brawn and Anger.
All his creatures with haste and trample, but I mean, when we say all of his creatures, question mark creatures?
His Eternal Witness is haste and trample.
Warleader's Helix is what he goes with, so a straightforward removal spell there. I say straightforward. What it does is very straightforward. Casting it might be a little bit more precarious.
The time for an Eidolon here.
I really don't mind the Eidolon in these decks that are trying to get a little bit cute with their colors. Frequently, there's the option to get it back, and it does generate 3 mana of any color when you sacrifice it.
I mean, when you pick Warleader's Helix, what you plan to cast? How many planes are you going to play? 1? He has Kurama's
Foil
Reach.
was the pick up there, so this is about guarding islands and blue cards, and now we have a pack with none of either of them. Might just be pick up the Patchwork Gnomes because they're actually going to be castable. Very intrigued as to where this deck is going to go in pack 3.
Yeah, for now he's drawing a lot of cards, but it doesn't look like he's going anywhere yet.
I mean, the one thing that I can state with relative confidence is if there's a big, splashy, good card in pack 3, Anna should be slamming it pretty much regardless of color requirements. Like, all over the map in terms of colors that he's working with thus far. Potentially making a little bit of ooze. Obviously, not all of these cards will make it into his deck. About 23 spells to 17 lands. So, essentially, about half of the cards that he's drafting are the ones that he's actually going to be using as he picks up a Conflagrate there.
That's a very good pick here. With Urban Evolution and Treasure Cruise and a lot of ways to draw cards. Conflagrate becomes a real card.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Death Denied, a great source of value for his deck. I mean, that's another one that can loop very, very nicely with various of his creatures that get back spells.
Yeah, so is Lab Maniac his win condition?
Or what, that he gradually just draws his deck and
Yeah.
wins with Lab Maniac? I mean,
Is that the plan? I mean, it's
he does have a
possible.
fair amount of card drawing.
Yeah.
It's a bold plan, but it is a plan. Yeah, very, very intrigued to see how this pack 3 goes.
He has also Reviving Vapors. So he's red, not too excited. I don't think he's very excited by his red. Like Anger, giving his creatures haste. He's not actually doing so much.
Yeah, I mean, this does not seem like a deck that can reliably expect to win in the red zone right now.
No. But maybe he's just going to play Bent.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, this is a draft that has wandered all over. It's avoided the swamps, but almost every other land has been considered over the course of this draft thus far. He's been cruising.
White
he's
blue
been
control?
doing all sorts. I mean, is this a
White
deck
blue
that's
splash
picking up
green?
Faith Fetters first in pack 3? I'm very intrigued as to what's going to transpire as we hit the latter stages of this draft.
This is where keeping your nerves together is key. You can't let yourself down after the review of pack 2. Okay, well, I don't know exactly how I'm winning. This has potential, even though it's not clear.
I mean, the Lab Maniac pick now seems like it might be quite an important one.
Yeah. But you have to keep your head in the draft and see what your options are. If you think, oh, my deck is not going anywhere, it's going to be a struggle, then you're not focused for pack 3, and then you might miss an opportunity to get the cards you need.
All right, so what have we got in here? We've got a Dimir Guild Mage. We've got Rise from the Tides is kind of interesting.
That's one of the...
Pulse of Morass, I don't know if he needs another one of them. Frantic Search, something to keep in mind. Wild Mongrel is just an obvious, straightforward, powerful early creature.
Well, Wild Mongrel loses a lot of value in the control deck.
Yeah, you don't want to be discarding cards.
No.
I mean, this is a deck that wants to be drawing lots of cards. I mean,
Yeah.
Frantic Search I can kind of see, especially if you're planning on doing cool Lab Maniac things.
Yeah, drawing at instant speed is very important when you rely on a Lab Maniac.
Rise from the Tides is kind of cool, but goes for the Frantic Search. Okay. Things beginning to crystallize a little bit here.
Is the Gold Gallic Wraith Troll the card you want to have?
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I
And
mean,
then you mill your whole deck, and you pulse the
so
pulse
there's
Lab
a
Maniac in hand.
Derange Assistant here. I mean, there is a Terramorphic Expanse as well, which might prove kind of helpful in terms of
Kadama's
getting
Reach
there.
as well.
Kadama's Reach. Goes for the Deranged Assistant, which will gradually get that deck slimmed down just a little bit.
Yeah, forget about Magma, forget about Anger, forget about the aggressive
This
cards.
this is going to be
This is
a
gonna be a
ride.
combo deck,
I'm
yeah.
kind of looking forward to seeing how this plays
Yeah.
out now. Back in original Innistrad, when you had your Lab Maniac, you'd be taking all those Dream Twists. You could be doing all sorts of
Dream
things
Twist.
to
Love that card.
Curse of the Bloody Tome on yourself, do all sorts to get those cards in the graveyard. These days, I mean, Treasure Cruises are a pretty cool way of doing it. Make no mistake. Engineered Explosives in this pack.
Nothing really goes in the plan here. Explosives might be the pick. I mean, Mahamutijin is good, but Explosives is a good way to... in a 3/4 color deck.
In a who knows quite how many color deck, he goes
Yeah.
for the Dien. I mean, it's the sort of thing that one of the things that he needs to keep in mind is just keeping safe from opposing flyers, and
Yeah.
having a big flyer on board is definitely one way of doing that. I mean, I guess that also, if his plan is to win with Lab Maniacs, sometimes having a little distraction to throw your opponent off the scent a little bit doesn't hurt too much, and the Djinn is a big distraction. Just the Wind is
Living
the one
Lore.
being shuffled to the front. Living Lore does good work also.
There's Treasure Cruise.
Is there a Treasure Cruise in this pack?
No, the Living
I
Lore
see.
with Treasure Cruise.
Oh, yeah. It's a big old body at that point.
and Urban Evolution.
Whew. Yeah, I kind of like Living Law actually. Though Just the Wind might be the card that gets him over the line in terms of just staying alive. Big fighty scroll. Avatar of Spells previously cast. Another Treasure Cruise. All right.
You know what this deck is missing? Satyr Wayfinder.
6 more Treasure Cruises. That's what it's missing. That's all we need. Come on, rest of the table. You can do it. It's not even good.
He needs more frantic searches.
More frantic searches.
And more ways to put
beautiful.
cards. More ways to put cards in the graveyard.
Cheeky little Faithless Looting.
Because what else does he have? He
I mean,
doesn't have a looting.
Satyr Wayfinder would be...
Yeah, would be absolutely great. What does he have to delve? Like, does he have any... Oh, there's a Turn to Mist.
Turn to Mist definitely does cool things in this deck.
Does he prefer Just the Wind? I mean, Turn to Mist is really good in this deck.
Goes for the Just the Wind.
It's almost the same thing. I mean, you can return your Eternal Witness.
Yep.
In your hand, but you have to cast it again. Turn to Mist, you just have to pay 2 mana, you get back to hand.
There's a Satyr Wayfinder.
Oh, wow.
I can't imagine what he picks over that one. Whew. We did it, gang. Ho-ho! Those Satyr Wayfinders, when they finally get into the right deck, they're so potent at getting you over the line, getting you to the point where you can actually start doing the cool stuff in the mid to late game.
And that's the third Gore's Vengeance of the draft.
Oh, I really hope that someone's doing it. Because, I mean, the legends that you do put into play with Goyo's Vengeance, sometimes they just end the game. Another big Djinn here if he wants it. The backup plan.
Is it Mahamoti Djinn dot deck?
I mean, this is definitely a dot deck of some description, but I think it might be cruising into a Maniac. I mean, I guess that, even if this deck happens to Satyr Wayfinder, it's Lab Maniac into the graveyard, there's a couple of different ways of getting that back, and Pulse of Marassa here.
Oh, wow.
And Rise the Tides. And the Pulse of Marassa means that you're a little safer to get your Lab Maniac back.
It's Pulse number 3.
Keeps you alive. Was it Pulse number 3? I thought it was Pulse number 2.
I think it's Pulse number 3.
The games for this deck are going to be unlike most games of the Magic the Gathering that you ever witness. I mean, a second Lab Maniac would be a nice pickup at some point.
I don't think we've seen one.
Yeah, I think it's just the one in this draft. Artisan of Kozilek coming along will potentially be able to get back an important creature.
Yeah, the triple Pulse might not play too well with the... How many Treasure Cruises? 3?
3 Treasure Cruises.
Yeah, that might be a little... tense to play all
figuring
of them.
out what you're delving in this deck is not going to be a trivial decision.
You want every starting hand to have a Satyr Wayfinder.
Satyr Wayfinder, and then, a few frantic searches.
A few, like the one.
The one frantic search. Frantic search into Kadama's Reach on turn 3. So things just rounding out here for Hushinbeth. He finishes off his draft. There will be quite a bit of things for him to consider here. He picks up his second foil there, so he gets to be a little bit controlling if he really needs to. Though how many spare islands he'll have sat around in hand is a little unclear. So, for Hushinbeth there, good little speculative draft. I'm really intrigued to see how that one actually plays out, because it is so atypical from what one might normally expect from your regular creature feature. Pick up some removal, bash people around a little bit, and just get over the line with regular attackers type draft. Almost all of your card evaluations for exactly that kind of draft change quite a bit. There's a lot of spells. The creatures that are in the deck almost function as more spells, and then it's a matter of whether or not the really important bits at the end. I mean, the 2 copies of foil might end up being really big if we get to that late stage of Lab Maniac's in play. I just need to get to the final stage in there. So that was our first draft. We've seen Arne Hushinbeth. We're going to get a chance to see another draft. I believe Mark Tobias's draft is coming up next. Do not go anywhere. More Ultimate Masters drafting after these messages.